Hello and welcome to Mistakes Were Made. This is a channel created to document our family's progress with debt reduction and eventual elimination. We are working on credit card debt, car payments, and personal loans. The mortgage is something that we will get to once this piece of the mess has been handled. So, if you are familiar with our channel, welcome back. Very much appreciate you checking up on us. And if this is a new channel for you, welcome. You will get to see what we do with our recaps. And the first thing I like to do, because this is the recap for the second half of December, so the second pay period, as we do budget by pay period, is just kind of look over the things that we have noted on the calendar. And I use this calendar to write down everything that goes out of our checking account, credit cards, anything. I mean, we're not using credit cards anymore, but if we were, it would show up on here, and everything that's coming in so that I can see an actual flow of our money. Now, we can do that, of course, with the checking account online, and we keep an eye on it online as well. That's where I get the information to put this down on. But there is something to be said about the physical nature of writing it down, and it really seems like it really makes it hit home. So we are being as intentional as possible about the money that we're spending. We aren't making mindless purchases or anything like that. So one of the things that I found before we started this is that there was less thought about the way we were spending our money. And there would be times that we might spend money and not necessarily really know what we spent it on. Usually those were things, that were rather small in cost, but still it adds up. So this gives us a nice way to really be clear about what our money is doing and how we are utilizing it. So we didn't have any surprises this particular pay period, though we did not stick to our budget 100%. For example, we have two instances where we did go ahead and go out to eat, but again, it wasn't a do this on the fly sort of thing. It was something that we were intentional and we planned on. It just wasn't something that we necessarily had planned and budgeted to do before the start of the pay period. That said, we didn't need to go into our credit cards or create debt in order to enjoy those opportunities. It did, however, reduce some of our unallocated money. So, there was still a cost. There has not been any changes with the credit cards. We are at the end of the month, so all payments have been made, all statements have cycled, so there aren't any additional interests being applied to any of the ones that are interest bearing. So these numbers are what will transfer into January and what we'll be working from there as we continue the process. All right. So that's kind of this time period in a nutshell. There isn't anything really to get into too depth about. So we're going to move on to the actual recap. Okay. So I can't remember if we went over this previously. I want to say probably not. I am going to start doing some budget with me's at the beginning, just a little bit before the beginning of the month. So we can go over, what we're expecting to be working with as far as income, and then the amounts that we're going to be working with for the various categories that we do attribute money to, what we're expecting to have left over at the end of the month, how much we're expecting to be able to put into savings for the bank of money that we are saving up to cover when I lose my job, and then how much we'll have to roll over into the next pay period. So with that in mind, for this past pay period, we were working with $3,914.17. We had $941 for our cash envelopes. And actually, here, oops, my ring's getting stuck on this. Let me get that written down. We did not have any changes in the cash envelope amount. Everything went as expected. For the credit cards, during this time period, there were 2 credit cards that needed to have their minimum payments made. We did those. Nothing changed from the $400. Mortgage, again, nothing changed there. And for our recurring monthly costs, nothing changed there. You're sensing a theme here. So it was $988.53. Now, where we do see a little bit of a difference is with the amount that is that we expected to be unallocated. So as you can see here, we were expecting $744.64. However, it actually ended up being $677.35. So we do our same buffer every time of $200. And as I've mentioned before, when we're talking about the money that's going to go into savings, it isn't just a direct subtract 200 from whatever the unallocated is. I like the nice round numbers. So this is actually going to be $475 instead of $477.35. So that leaves us with $202.35. That will roll over into, and I didn't make sure that that was in on screen, $202.35. That will roll over into next month's or the next pay period's starting funds that we're going to be working with. So the difference between what we ended up with and what we had anticipated is about $67. Not unsurprising, considering we did have a couple of non-budgeted but still covered, I guess is the best way to say it, instances where we went out to eat. That said, the difference in how much we had available to save only went down by $50. We felt the remainder of that difference in how much is available to be rolled over into the next pay period. So we also can look at the January income. Now, as I mentioned, I'm starting to do budget with me's. I already did the January one, and that video should have already come out. And at the time, my partner's pay had already dropped, so we knew that what that was going to be specifically. My pay had not yet dropped because it doesn't come out until the very end of December. But I had guesstimated it was going to be $1,910.13, which it was. So I believe, I'm trying to remember, I know it wasn't that long ago, but my brain is just mush these days. But I believe that the amount we are looking at here is still accurate, because when I did the budget with me, I want to say we had already determined that the unallocated amount was going to be less than what we had originally expected it to be. If not, then it's one of the downsides of running numbers a little bit earlier than if we waited until the very end of the month and everything that could happen would have happened. So, but that's okay. We've got, what do we have here? That's 15, 7, 8, 9. This is 8. This is 4, 16, 18. Okay, so hopefully these numbers actually match up with the budget with me, because this is the amount that we are expecting to have to cover the pay period of January 1st through the 15th. All right. So all in all, I think we did rather well. It is a little disappointing that, we have a little bit less money going into savings, but at the same time, nothing unexpected came up. We, for the most part, covered all of our costs with what we had budgeted. We had money available to absorb the very small amounts of overages we had. Didn't need to go into debt, and I need to keep remembering that that is the ultimate goal, not going into debt. And we accomplished that for this particular pay period, and things are looking about normal and on target for next month. So very happy about that. Love to get your feedback, suggestions, ideas, any thoughts that you might have. So please drop those below. I do read all of them, and I try to respond to all of them. It kind of depends on what shows up in the YouTube comment thing. But I do really appreciate those that take the time to watch, whether it's just a portion of the video or the whole thing. And I very much appreciate those who take the time to share their thoughts about the situation. So I hope you guys had a magnificent holiday. Hopefully the new year is going to be even brighter and better than 2023. That is my hope for myself as well. I guess we'll leave it at that, and we'll see you in the next one.